Good morning, good
Happy New
afternoon,
Year.
good evening, everyone. Uh, you're most welcome to the Discovering MA in India Studies webinar organized by the Jindal India Institute of OP Jindal Global University. We will be introducing you to our new MA program, a 1 year fully online master's degree in India Studies, which brings together a comprehensive, all comprehensive aspects of India from its philosophies, histories, politics, religion, to even business, science, and technology, arts, and whatnot in 1 year. And we have a stellar faculty joining us, and some of which are also joining us as panelists today. Uh, so, without any further ado, please allow me to introduce our leader in this initiative, Dr. Shriram Cholia. So Dr. Shriram Cholia is a leading opinion maker in India on international affairs. He's the Director General of the Jindal India Institute and Professor and Dean of the Jindal School of International Affairs. He's a leading opinion columnist on world affairs for Indian newspapers Dainik Jagran and Hindustan Times, and a commentator on international current issues on radio and television. He anchors the famous Indian diplomacy TV show on India's national broadcaster Doordarshan. He's an author of 6 books. His latest book is titled Friends, India's Closest Strategic Partners, and explores how India is building momentum and presents itself as a viable leader, a beneficial partner, and a dependable friend in the world. Uh, I would request Dr. Cholia to introduce the institutional architecture that is supporting this program, the Open Jindal Global University, the Jindal India Institute, and the JGU Online, uh, which we are happy to tell you that the Jindal Global University is now ranked #1 in the world for online learning. So over to you, Dr. Cholia.
Thank you, Raghav. Namaskar, greetings to everyone from all over the world who are joining this webinar. I congratulate you for your interest in the MA in India studies being offered by OP Jindal Global University's Jindal India Institute. I'm the Director General of the India Institute here, and this is our most ambitious venture. The India Institute is a think tank within the university to promote deeper empathetic understanding of India in all its glorious aspects. There are historical, contemporary, as well as futuristic elements of India that need to be understood in a balanced, fair, and rigorous manner. And this is the whole endeavor of the India Institute. Apart from degree programs, we also do trainings, capacity buildings, policy advocacy, and we have a number of research projects running. I urge you to visit the India Institute's website, and we will post the link to it so you get a better sense of what we are doing here in this think tank, which is about 1 year old. So the online degree programs, we have a long history of running successful online degree programs, and this is not going to be the first such from Jindal Global University. The Times Higher Education, one of the benchmarks in global rankings, has placed Jindal Global University #1 in the world for online degrees and for online learning. So it's a commitment that we started during the COVID-19 pandemic and have since taken to a higher level through a range of degree programs. For example, our School of International Affairs, which I head, apart from the India Institute, runs a very successful master's degree in international relations, security, and strategy. It's called MAIRSS. It's completely online. This is with Coursera, the e-learning platform. So what we have tried to do through online learning is to make it as comprehensive, as complete, and as holistic as an in-person or a physical learning. So there is actually no difference in terms of the quality of delivery and in terms of the depth of knowledge and understanding and other networking opportunities that happen as a result of the online degrees at Jindal University. So the MA India Studies is the latest venture, and We have thousands of online students already in other degree programs, and we are expecting to enroll hundreds in the MA India studies in the years to come. So the first cohort, the admissions are ongoing as we speak, and the classes commence 1st of April 2025. So this webinar is meant to give all of you interested learners a peek into why this program is of value and relevance to you, and how it can help not only shape your careers but also your thinking and your approach to one of the great world civilizations and one of the great contemporary power centers in the world, and one of the major countries that is going to shape and define all aspects of history going forward into the 21st century. We have tried to structure this program in such a way that it caters to a variety of interests, both historical, contemporary, and futuristic, as I said, and the kind of interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary learning that we have packaged into this, I don't think has any parallel. Nobody has ever done a degree program like this, where each course within the degree program comes from one discipline of knowledge. Generally, when they say interdisciplinary, it's maybe two to three, but here you have history, economics, political science, international relations, science and technology, environment, sociology, a bit of anthropology, religion, culture, business studies, economics, everything encompassed in a single degree program. And we have done this because India has often not been fairly or comprehensively studied from all these angles. So when we designed the curriculum, our team was conscious that India studies have been mostly done from Western universities and Western centers of knowledge. And these have mostly been seen from a sociological perspective primarily, using caste and religion as the primary lenses through which to look at India. But we have, of course, we do so Indian society and culture, but that's not the only course in this degree program. If you actually look at the curriculum, you'll see that it combines a vast variety of issue areas, because India is not just a nation state that can be understood vis-a-vis other nation states. It's a civilizational state. It is much more than even the geographical boundaries of what constitute the modern Republic of India. It's got a enormous influence over the world, different regions and sub-regions of the world. It has got contact and presence, and has shaped um, thought and knowledge and practice in many parts of the world in so many domains. So our endeavor here through this MA India studies is to get you all, people who are curious about this great country and this civilization, and people who also know that India is rising and is becoming more and more powerful in the world, and that eventually it is going to be an equal of China and the United States, and will be a major world power that is going to shape the rules and the institutions and the global order going forward in the 21st century and beyond. So the idea is that you get to learn about all these aspects of India and do it in a manner through our experts, our faculty, some of whom are joining the webinar today, and will talk about the courses they will be teaching within this degree program. And the idea is that you not only gain a fuller understanding of and full picture of India, but also will be able to then use it and harness it for your careers and for your futures. You may be a serving diplomat who's either going to be posted in India, is already posted in India from another country. You may be an employee of a multinational corporation that has got business interests in India. You may be involved in trade ties with India through your institutions. You may be simply an Indophile, somebody who loves India and Indology and wants India studies. You may be just preparing to know about emerging power centers around the world and how they are approaching the world and what is happening within those countries domestically. You may be a person who is heard about India and is influenced by its popular culture, like our music, our cinema, our yoga, our spirituality and meditation and these sort of things. So no matter what your where you're coming from, I believe that this kind of program will really set you up for your futures with India. And I want to emphasize this point, because this is not just about learning and about wisdom. Of course those are critical, but it's also about how you can harness this kind of degree program for your own well-being and your career prospects. So what we have done is we've designed a curriculum. We put together the outstanding scholars and intellectuals, Indians as well as non-Indians, who are specialists in India studies and who are all working at General Global University. So this is our in-house initiative. All the faculty who are teaching this program are our professors, and they're drawn from different schools and different disciplines, as I said. And I think you will end up being also forced to go out of your comfort zone. Let's say you are a specialist in business studies and you want to know about doing business in India, but that's only one of the courses in this curriculum. You'll also need to do a lot more. And in any case, doing business in India needs a deeper understanding of Indian culture, society, economy, the politics, the foreign policy, gender issues, environmental concerns, and so on, right? Science and technology, just to mention a few. So the idea is that you may come from one sub area or subdomain with a link to India, no matter where you're in the world. But what we are giving you is the full picture, the big picture. And through this, we believe we are going to equip you with the skills and the knowledge set that can take you to the next level. So I welcome all your interest in our India Studies program, and do follow what we are doing in the India Institute. And our commitment is to highest quality online learning. This is a 1 year degree program. In the past, we used to do 2 year degree programs, but now Jindal Global University has a status of institution of eminence in India, which gives it autonomy to do shorter programs. And the global benchmark of 1 year masters, which are very rigorous and which continue for a full 12 months. This is what we are now implementing through this degree program. The tuition fee, as you can see, is by global standards quite affordable for people from around the world. And we have done it in such a way that nobody is excluded. So we welcome applicants, especially from around the world. Of course, Indians themselves may want to know more about India and may want to apply. But the mission of the India Institute is to influence global opinion in a positive way about India. And that is why we are launching this strategic initiative in the form of the MA India Studies. So I hope to enroll some of you in our degree program soon. And the applications are open, and we hope to welcome you into the program starting April 1st. So all the very best, dear learners. And yeah, India is waiting for you.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, our master's program is actually the first full-time master's program in India studies by an Indian university. And it is the program will teach India from a scholarly lens that is rooted in its own intellectual traditions and contemporary realities. India presents a curious mix of tradition and modernity, and there is no way you can understand India from a simplistic perspective. So this program brings together some of the best minds on India, and now I will invite our panelists, the course instructors, one by one to introduce their respective courses. On the panel, we have four course instructors of first four courses that would be delivered as part of this program. So we are covering Indian history, Indian philosophy and religion, India's domestic politics since independence, and India's international relations. Uh, to begin with, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Hindul Sen Gupta, who is the director at the Jindal India Institute and a professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs. He is an award-winning historian, author of 12 acclaimed books, and a renowned columnist for over a decade. he also brings in a practitioner's perspective. He has served as Vice President Strategy and Research at Invest India, which is the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency of India. His research explores India's rise from an ancient civilization to a global power, connecting history, international relations, economics, trade, religion, and culture. He's a Chevening. He has been a Chevening Scholar at Oxford and a Knight Baggot Fellow at Columbia University, and holds a doctorate in international relations from the Geneva School of Diplomacy and International Relations. Uh, his work has been recognized with prestigious honors, including the Wilbur Award in the US and the Value of Words Prize in India. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Sen Gupta now. Dr. Sen Gupta, your course explores India's historical journey from one of the world's oldest civilization to its emergence as a rising power. How does understanding these historical underpinnings help students make sense of India's past and future aspirations?
To Raghav, and I'll take off from where Sriram left off by saying India is here to welcome you, and we at Jindal Global University are waiting to welcome all of you in this pioneering course. I want to say that, when I designed this course, there's something interesting to remember. We live in a world where we talk about changing world order all the time. You must have heard of it or read of this phrase that the world order is changing. And as IR scholars, we think a lot about this. But if you think about it, the world order changes because a certain underlying engine changes behind it. And that engine is called history. History is the fuel and the engine that changes and moves world orders. And India, as a rising power, even if you don't know anything about India, you have seen bits and parts of India's history. You have seen the great temples of India in the south of India and in other parts. You would have seen the wonderful and majestic Taj Mahal. All of these things are part of India's glorious, rich history. Now, this history is what we call a living history. It's a civilization that isn't dead. There are many civilizations that died out. India's civilization is unbroken. I'll give you an example. If you think about India China contestation in the Indo Pacific today, you cannot avoid history, because one of the things that India talks about in its own sort of understanding of its history and power projection in the Indo Pacific is the history of a group of rulers called the Cholas. For nearly 1500 years, this was one of the great maritime powers of the world. Their power projected across Southeast Asia, and they were one of those people who really understood what maritime power really is. And India today talks about this Chola history as part of its own understanding of what the Indo-Pacific and the Indian Ocean ought to be. Now, of course, China has its own history and, puts forward its own viewpoints, and so do other countries. But India's viewpoint as a rising power is irretrievably tied to this history. Let's talk about another example. I come from the world of foreign direct investment and trade. Well, thousands of years ago, and if we talk about trade imbalance today, thousands of years ago, the great Roman historian Pliny the Elder was complaining that the coffers of Rome were being emptied. Why were the coffers of Rome being emptied? Well, because the Romans couldn't get enough of buying things from the Indies. India. What were they buying from India? They were buying spices, they were buying gold, jewelry, all kinds of things. But one of the things that they were buying, which comes from my part of India, and I'm very proud of this, they were buying cloth that Pliny the Elder said was like a wisp of smoke. Cloth so fine that it was like a wisp of smoke. Muslin from the east of India, right? Muslin cloth. Now, if you think about trade imbalances, all of this connects once again, to India's industrial strength at one point, and colonization, which destroyed some of it, and India regaining today that power once again. We talk about India's technological prowess today. Well, India had very interesting technology back in ancient India today. Many of the monuments that I will talk about, including in my course, some of them, we still don't know how they were built. So, in my course, we talk about a continuum. a continuum from the rich ancient history right up to this rising power, which aims to be a force for good in the world, and how this is not a broken journey, it is a continuum, and it sort of flows one into the other. And I hope as you join me in this really exciting journey, which I'm really excited presenting to you, you will understand why India says Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Truly, the whole world is our family. And I join you once again, like Sriram said, to join us in this really exciting journey.
Thank you, sir. This was a brilliant introduction to the course, and I would add an inspiring one. Now, adding to Indian histories and the worldviews, the historical developments that Professor Hindul Sen Gupta will bring to the program, we have Dr. Mikhal Ehrlich, who will be teaching a course titled Between the City and the Forest, the Evolution of Indic Philosophy and Religions. Dr. Mikhal Ehrlich is an associate director at the Jindal India Institute and an associate professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs. She will also serve as the coordinator for the MA India Studies program. Dr. Ehrlich is a scholar of Indian religions and a researcher of contemporary lived Hinduism and well-being in urban India. Her research explores current meanings of well-being in India's specific and dynamic context, as well as how individuals and communities in religious frameworks pursue well-being to improve their lives. Issues related to internal migration, marginalized and hybrid communities, new religious movements, and the tradition of guru devotion, bhakti, and female gurus in India. Her research has been published in leading journals, including the world-renowned International Journal of Hindu Studies. Dr. Ehrlich, your course explores India's philosophical and religious traditions shaped by the dialectic between an ecstatic and a worldly life. How does this dynamic reveal the roots of India's diverse and enduring spiritual legacy?
Thank you. Thank you, Raghav. And thank you, Professor Charlia and Professor Sengupta for your wonderful introductions before me. And I really welcome everyone to this wonderful opportunity to get a glimpse of this program, which is extremely exciting. So, you know, when people imagine India, people who knows maybe a lot or little, sometimes they will imagine a huge Indian wedding, right? Sitting in front of a fire with the offerings and mantras. But sometimes they will imagine a yogi sitting alone in the Himalaya, you know, meditating. And those are very different images to think about religion, extremely contradictory. And in a way, this course is built to, first of all, give foundation of the language of Indian thought. What do we mean when we say moksha, karma, samsara, all of these big, you know, words that people are today just throwing in on TikTok or on Facebook and Instagram? What is behind them? So first of all, is to really give a very large foundation for the vocabulary of Indian philosophy and religion and thought. But it's also in a way a course that is looking in a deeper level about this tension, apparently tension. For years, you know, Western scholars used to speak about this huge tension. There is the forest dwellers and the yoga and meditation, and there are those urbanites who created families and did rituals, and Brahmins, and they completely different, you know, traditions. And what this course, along with modern history and thought about those traditions, is trying to do is to say, wait, this is all part of one system which is constantly nourish each other. They are conversing with each other. The forest dwellers and the city people were never, you know, in a vacuum. They were actually making a progress together, thinking together about reality, challenging each other. So the course is looking at this movement between the city and the forest. But I think also there are other ways of looking at it because it's about Hinduism and the Indic religions being extremely plural. You know, in India, we don't have one way of looking at something. We have many drishtis, we have many points of view to look at things. And it's extremely plural, and it can really evolve with time and rethink the ability of religion and philosophy to look at itself put questions and evolve constantly. So the course is looking at those points in which those growth jumps has taken place while the forest dwellers and the city people are conversing with one another. And I think it's also extremely important to understand it in today, from today's point of view, as Dr. Shriram Chalia have noted, in order to understand India in a very much deeper and nuanced way, we cannot look through one prism at something. So, even India today is extremely, it's accessing, it's growing, business, innovations from everywhere, things are happening. But on the other hand, the city is, the forest is much closer to the city in a sense that we have gurus and people are practicing more than ever, not only in India, they're practicing meditation and they're practicing yoga. Those are traditions who would not belong to the city dwellers. So in a way, those two are colliding in today's culture because there is so much need of them and the integration is everywhere. So trying to understand today integration between things. And also, I will even take it a step further because in my core, I'm an anthropologist. And I really believe that as a Professor Sengupta have noted, that looking at the future, until now, lots of the narratives of economy, not only of politics or history, but also of economy and sociology, have been narrated by Western concepts. And I really believe that the India religion and thought and spirituality can offer a different economic perspective, a different way of understanding society, and even has a great option of being some kind of a post-capitalist alternative for the world economy. So I will end with that, and I'm really welcoming everyone to this course. Thank you, and the program.
Thank you, Dr. Ehrlich. And from what Dr. Ehrlich mentioned, I was just reminded of a favorite scholar of mine, Chaturvedi Badrinath, who wrote on Dharma. He used to say that every thought that you can imagine has already been thought in India. So you have the materialists, you have the spiritualists, you have very traditions, ritualists, and all spectrum all sides that you can imagine, they already exist in Indian thought. So Indian thought in itself presents as an ecosystem to perhaps even present alternative concepts in politics, in history, in the organization of the world order. And in fact, scholarship has been emerging, and even from the Hopi Chandra Global University, there have been works emerging, for example, on international relations theory, perspectives from Buddhism, perspectives from Advaita Vedanta, even Sikhism, and how they can present alternate worldviews to organize international politics. So to understand all this, you must understand Indian thought, and this course will give you a very good introduction to that. Now, I would like to invite Professor Rath to introduce her course. Professor Rath is a political scientist. She's a fellow at the Jindal India Institute and an assistant professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs. She holds a PhD from University of Delhi, where her research attempted to address the absence of a political theory around the concept of child citizenship. She has taught courses on foundations of Indian politics, understanding political theory, global politics, politics of globalization, political processes and institutions in contemporary perspective, and public policy in India. Dr. Rath, your course examines the evolution of India's domestic politics and its awe-inspiring democratic processes. What fundamental aspects of India's democracy are essential for students to understand its resilience and adaptability? And how can India's democratic model offer valuable lessons for other nations?
Thank you, Raghav, for your question, and also to Dean, Michal, and Hindol for the introductions. So to answer your question, and also to introduce the course, India's independence brought with it universal adult franchise, equality, justice, and liberty. And it is the manner in which these play out that students of domestic politics must engage with for a deeper understanding of the democratic model. So for a country that had been under colonial rule for centuries, less than 80 years later, we've come a long way. Independence provided Indians the path to plan the country's growth and development through education, wealth accumulation, a good quality of life, access to justice and courts of law, while providing those who had been historically discriminated on the basis of their caste or religion an equal platform to participate in the democratic process. India has a rich cultural and traditional heritage with a distinct blend of languages, regions, and religions, making possible the prevalence of harmony along with conflict. The course, Understanding the World's Largest Democracy, India's Domestic Politics Since Independence, traces the trends in tensions and cooperation between the lawmakers and the law adjudicators, while those responsible for laying the foundations of law kept the Constitution open to interpretation. This has subsequently led to a healthy debate between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, arguing over the powers that each have to amend the basic structure. Meanwhile, political parties have grown not only in number, but also in the diversity of groups they represent. Post-independence, the country saw the dominance of the Congress Party, which played a key role in the nationalist movement prior to independence. This was followed by an era of governments being formed through a coalition of parties. And most recently, the Bharatiya Janata Party has captured the country's imagination during the elections at the national and state levels in the last decade, showing how domestic politics in India offers opportunities to multiple parties to play a leading role at different points in time. The relationship between the central government and the state government changes according to the parties in power. Decisions can be made at the central, state, or joint levels based on the areas of responsibility provided in the Constitution. Citizenship in India, similar to other parts of the world, has always included some and excluded others. While friction between religions and castes continues, so does the presence of a largely symbiotic and peaceful state. The Constitution provides for non-discrimination on the basis of caste, class, sex, religion, or place of birth. And the laws framed by the Parliament aim to adhere to this in spirit. Representation in national legislative bodies is a good measure of assessing the participation of different groups. And India has historically provided representation to women, religious minorities, and socially and economically marginalized communities. At its conception, India's democratic model brought with it a distinctive significance of the state, the delicate checks and balances between different institutions of governance, a federal structure, a robust caste consciousness, mindful Indian secularism, and the involvement of women in Indian politics. Rights accorded to Indian citizens provide for the possibilities to build on these strengths. While challenges remain, it is in the way in which we learn and grow each year and each decade that must be understood politically. India's democratic model engages with a plurality of perspectives that other nations can learn from. By the time the course concludes, the students of this course shall be able to articulate balanced opinions and original arguments on areas ranging from the state, the legislature, the judiciary, federalism, caste, secularism, citizenship, women in politics, and rights in India. So thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing many of you who will be joining the course and the program.
Thank you, Professor. Indeed, perhaps it can even be argued that India in itself is perhaps the greatest experiment in democracy, and it is the largest democracy of the world, and a nation which at its foundation had many skeptics, and people believed, and because of its incredible diversity, the democratic experiment would not succeed. It has actually emerged as a successful democracy, and it can present many lessons for nations around the world to emulate. Now, coming from domestic politics to international relations, we have Dr. Swasti Rao joining us as the course instructor for India's Rise on the Global Stage, an introduction to its international relations. Dr. Swasti Rao is a geopolitical expert, commentator, and author. She's an associate professor of international relations at the Jindal School of International Affairs, and associate dean for global initiatives at the OP Jindal Global University. Before joining Jindal, she was a fellow at the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis, India's premier strategic think tank, where she worked on projects for the Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Defense on European geopolitics and geoeconomics. She is a contributing editor for India's leading media house, The Print, and a non-resident fellow at Eastern Circles, Paris. She is also a geopolitical advisor to the Uttar Pradesh government on developing the UP Defense Industrial Corridor, key undertaking of the Ministry of Defense, Government of India. She's a widely published author. Her latest publications are with Routledge, World Scientific Publishers, Palgrave Macmillan, and the Pentagon Press. Her work on Ukraine war is soon to be compiled in a book titled Ukraine Untold, which will be published by HarperCollins India. Dr. Rao, your course introduces students to India's international relations. How do you approach analyzing India's foreign policy decisions to uncover the principles and priorities that guide its rise on the global stage?
Thank you so much, Raghav. That was a very kind introduction, and I'm very happy to be here. This is, of course, as you know, I have just joined the university, and I have been given this wonderful opportunity to teach this course on India's rise on the global stage, something that I have been tracking for the last 6 years, and particularly for the last 3 years, as I was associated very closely with these decision-making bodies that you heard of, which are, India's Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of External Affairs. So very quickly, what I am going to be doing here is that you may have heard, I'm sure, of terms like non-alignment, of Panchsheel, of how India takes the leadership of Global South, or for example, how India's thinking about the world is rooted in post-colonialism, how India has been conflating status versus power, etc. So these are the kind of things that you would really find if you were to do a quick search on what makes the fundamentals of Indian foreign policy. You may have also heard that India lacks a strategic culture and is more of a normative power when it comes to international relations. But one of the things that I will help you develop in this course is that you have to look at Indian foreign policy with the lens of how India finds itself embedded in the geopolitical context. So I think that's one part. And the other thing that I wish to inculcate through this course and the way I have conceived of it is that I'll try to give you a good understanding of how should you understand what has been India's strategic imagination of itself, of the world, and of its place in the world. And then you will see this very interesting journey of how India finds itself in the world from the time that it became a young nation and an old civilization to now when it is a formidable player in the global scenario. So this is just a general thing. If I may be getting into a bit of details here, I think Indian foreign policy has been a response to shifting geopolitics of its times. If you look at the immediate aftermath of independence, of course, under the visionary leadership of our first Prime Minister, we did craft a foreign policy that sought to kind of balance its aspirations, like I said, as a newly independent state on the one hand, and realities of a bipolar world, which was dominated, as by the two superpowers, United States and the Soviet Union. And then India had chosen the path of non-alignment, a principle in that allowed it to assert its sovereignty and maintain autonomy in international affairs, while it was also advocating for the rights of and aspirations of the new decolonized nations across Asia and Africa. And then if you see over the decades, India's foreign policy has definitely evolved. It has been responding more to regional challenges, also to global shifts, and also domestic priorities. I think the wars over the years, the many wars with Pakistan and a few with China, in the 60s and the 70s, kind of tested India's strategic capabilities. It also underscored the need for a more robust defense policy. Then coming from a defense to economy, the economic liberalization that everybody keeps talking about, if you remember that India's ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh, just passed away, who was in many ways considered, one of the architects of economic liberalization of India. So this started in the 90s, and this marked a turning point because India then kind of opened its doors to the world. And the 90s was also instrumental in establishing India's nuclear doctrine and posture in the world, and I will tell you about that. Similarly, coming more to the modern era, say, for example, there have been other shifts. So from the idealistic non-alignment in the early years to now what we often refer to as pragmatic multi-alignment, the evolution that you see of India's foreign policy is important to understand, especially because China's rise has been destabilizing versus India's rise has been peaceful. So this reflection on India's global journey that I intend to introduce you all with underscores the growth of our nation from a post-colonial state into a key global player. Of course, I have tried to sort of condense it into just a few minutes for you to tell you the expanse of the course, but that's precisely what I'm going to be trying to teach you. It will highlight all the strategic shifts that I talked about, the landmark decisions, the evolving global relationships that have shaped India's current international stature. So if I once more, if I try and summarize how I've kind of conceived this course, of which I just gave you this brief overview about, is that you, through this course, will understand the shifts and transitions and their impacts on many of the following points that I'll now tell you. So for example, remember that one thing that we need to understand when understanding India's foreign policy is that how have we made a transition from non-alignment to multi-alignment? Are they the same? Do they mean something else? If so, what is the difference? And then how has this shift from non-alignment to multi-alignment has also helped us select our strategic partners in the world today? Then we are going to understand how India made this transition from a closed socialist model of economy to a liberal economy, which in my opinion is still a work in progress. Then I will tell you how India's capabilities and procurement has been entrenched as a response to wars that we have had. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I think that is a very important vector of India's global position today. Similarly, I will also talk a bit about India and regionalism. So for example, India in Southern Asia versus India in South Asia, which is more of a post-colonial construct. And we will try and deconstruct it a little bit. Then what about India's extended neighborhood? You may have heard a lot about India's neighborhood policy, and India's neighborhood is very volatile. So we will kind of delve a bit into that as to why does that continue to be so volatile. Then it's not just the neighborhood, but India has global aspirations. So India in a multipolar world. And for that, you have to first understand how Indian foreign policy made a shift of focus from the continental domain to the maritime domain, and therefore the construct of Indo-Pacific becoming very important in India's foreign policy deliberations. Similarly, then when we talk more about multipolar world, we are going to be talking about the different global commons and India's response to that. So for example, India's rise as a humanitarian actor during COVID, India and the wars, India and this entire discussion on China +1 and the resilient supply chains. And all of this above will give you an overview of how India's rise in the global scenario has been. So today, India is considered a humanitarian actor. It is also considered a leader of the global South. It still has the value of neutrality in an era which is characterized by return of conventional and I would say grinding wars of attrition. Today, India's diaspora perhaps is a very important tool of furthering India's identity and foreign policy. Then India is also maintaining its strategic autonomy, but strategic autonomy does not operate in isolation. I will tell you about that. However, despite that, India is still a status quoist power and which is still in search of a grand strategy. Though there are certain institutions that have been created over time that kind of tell that India does have a strategic vision, but it still is trying to search for a grand strategy. So I will kind of end the course when I will try and discuss with you how do we in India now try and define, try and identify the sources of our comprehensive national power. How do we sort of attach that with the search of our grand strategy? If there is one, how do we encapsulate it? If there is not one grand strategy, how do we sort of put one in place? And finally, like I said, that the thrust here is going to be understanding India from Indian scholars, from Indian writings, because I think even as myself, as a student, as a scholar, as somebody who studied abroad, has been teaching earlier, I think most of the foreign policy elaborations that you find on India are mostly written by Westerners. And I think one of the purposes of this course, as you may have understood by now, is to try and break that, and not just to compartmentalize Indian writing versus the Western writing, but try and find a continuum and also try to see where those differences come and how interesting they make the entire debate. So the search is for making a more holistic understanding for Indian foreign policy from the Indian viewpoint. And I think you will really enjoy the course. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Since we are short on time, I'll invite Dr. Ehrlich now to introduce the structural nuances of the program. What kind of lectures will you witness? How will be the faculty engagement? Dr. Ehrlich, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I will try to do it short, mostly introduce the idea that we have all come together with. We talked a lot about online studying and what does it mean in our age to study online in the age of AI, in the age that knowledge is everywhere available, and what can we bring to actually make it regress in academics and professional. So what we have done, we created 4 short terms, as Professor Shriram Chawla has already talked about, which covers lots of subjects. I won't go over all of the subjects. There is no need. All the information is there online in the brochures and everywhere, but we give a huge scan of history, like you could feel, I think, from the webinar that just happened. You have histories, you have more Asian thought and philosophy, you have modern religion and trends, you have political science, you have business, you have technology, you have art. Like, it's a really covering program, but I would actually like to go more to the specific of how do we study. And the idea is that every course is divided to recorded lesson. In the recorded lesson, you will get all the secondary reading. Now, let's not use big terms, but the idea is to talk about something. So if we speak about Gandhi, it's about the philosophy of Gandhi, the life story of Gandhi, the importance of Gandhi. But then we have also half of it is going live sessions. So every week you get 1 hour of recording, but every 2 weeks you get 2 hours of studying together with the professors. And this is a bit different from previous structures of online learning because, as I said, in an era which knowledge is everywhere, it's literally everywhere and you can get it in seconds. We believe that real study, real thinking happens together in a dialogue form. So in the live sessions, we will get primary sources. So if we go ahead with the Gandhi example, we will read Gandhi's writings, and then we will analyze them together with the help of the secondary sources which were recorded and you have watched already on your own time. So with the tools you're getting from the recorded, we are now approaching the knowledge itself. And this is what we do in academic. We hope to create new knowledge, new thinking, creative thinking about something. So together with the professors, we will create a dialogue in the online sessions, reading primary resources, thinking together about them, asking questions. And we believe that this is where you become active in the process of learning, because in the recording there is some level of passivity. You sit at home and you get the information from the professors, but in the live sessions we will sit together and we will study together. And this is very important point because I think it's essential for really making knowledge your own and being active with this knowledge. So this will be the structures of all the courses. In addition to that, we also have courses which about how to think, how to write. So from very primary parts of academics, about how to write academics, how to even mark references, bibliography, but even to more complex and nuanced of creative writing, how to frame a question, what is methodology, what is theory, how do I use theories, and all those big words, but into my own thinking and writing. So we also form these seminars, those 4 credits divided into 2 terms in which you will be able to really understand how to create your own knowledge. And then in the end of in the 4th term, students can choose if they want to do 2 more electives, or they want to try and create knowledge and write a short dissertation. They will be guided. This is also something new that we are introducing. You're not just thrown, okay, go ahead, write your thesis. No, there is a course. You will be part of the course, which will take you step by step in the 4th term in writing your dissertation. In addition, you will have also guides from the university that will help you with that. So this is, in a way, in a year, and a really amazing effort to give knowledge, huge knowledge on India. Like after you will finish this year, you will feel that you can say something about India. You have the ability to say something about India, but also to create knowledge about it. And I think this is what makes academics real important in today's world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ehrlich. In fact, we are bringing the best practices of JGU online to you. A platform that already has about 3,400 plus successful graduates from 100 plus different countries and 3,000 plus enrolled learners at the moment. The comprehensive overview that you've just received from our faculty members, our panelists, is not limited to the topics that we have discussed today. In fact, we have courses that cover theater, cinema, and entertainment, business science and technology, yoga, mindfulness, and bhakti, even appreciating Indian music and dance, India through the arts, and environment and sustainable practices in India. So everything that you can perhaps want and imagine in a one-year degree on India, this MA in India Studies offers you that. This also, I would like to mention and specify that this is not just a journey in intellectual edification. We have designed this program in a way that it actually directly benefits your career prospects as well. And I would like to invite Professor Dr. Shriram Cholia again to perhaps shed some light on that.
Yeah, students, we have heard from our galaxy of intellectuals and the depth of knowledge and the perspective that they bring. Obviously, it is unbeatable. But let me also emphasize the pragmatic side of this one more time. India is not only the growth engine of the world today and into the foreseeable future, but it also is the most populous country. It's going to become the 3rd largest economy. It's a major power. And essentially, if you understand India, you are understanding a big chunk of the world. So in many ways, this master's degree can be a stepping stone for, like I said, many types of careers, diplomats, people who are into trade and business and investment, and of course, Indologists and Indophiles, but also simply anyone concerned about the future of our planet and about the international order. You cannot bypass India, right? It's just too big a player, and it's getting even bigger. So if you think you understand China and the US and your own country, wherever you're from, and maybe your neighbors, that's not enough. You will need to know about India. And I think the more your countries and India extend their partnerships and enter into deeper economic relationships, it's going to be a huge value add for you to be an India expert. Being an India expert is not easy. In fact, I would not even say that doing a one-year master's degree is sufficient to make you an Indian expert, but it is the first step. So if you are knowledgeable about India, not just from reading from a news story or from watching a YouTube video, but knowledgeable in a very systematic way because you've undergone this master's degree, I think you will be in a better position than your peers to plan and to go one leg up in your careers. So there are many connections to India wherever you are from. And I do believe that your curiosity and your thirst for knowledge about India should be supplemented by this pragmatic side. And even during the program, our colleagues, faculty members will be glad to support, like write letters of reference for you for your future endeavors, either to get you a promotion in your current job or for you to make a transition from one career to another career. You may want to use this degree to come to India if you are abroad, to visit us here in Jindal. Our online students have in the past come here and have been part of the network. And we are, of course, happy to offer advice about your future careers as well. So all our scholars are reputed people. These are big names. You're going to be learning from some of the most respected figures in Indian academia and also international figures. So it will definitely help you to have these kind of teachers going forward, not just for letters of reference, but in terms of connections and getting to know people who can help you move up in your careers. So think about this as a great intellectual journey, but also as something that will help you in a very practical way. Investing your time for 1 year studying for this rigorous master's degree is going to transform your life. And that much I can commit on behalf of our India Institute and the university, that we are committed to making you learn and think and write in a way that will transform you as a person. And do let everybody know that the admissions are ongoing, and we look forward to your applications and to welcoming you into the first cohort. The ones who are joining us for before April 1st, in the next 3 months, are going to be the history makers, because you are going to be the first cohort of the MA India Studies of the Jindal India Institute of OP Jindal Global University. So you are going to be the pioneers, and many others will then follow in your footsteps. So we welcome your interest in the program and are really, really looking forward to having you joining our classes. All the best.
Thank you, Dr. Cholia. So perhaps we can take some questions now. I request you to please send in your questions in the chat box, and please, I request every participant to please mention their country in the chat box as well. In the meantime, let me just introduce you to a few other details. The eligibility for this program is a bachelor's degree from a recognized university. This program, as you know, will be delivered over 12 months. And the first round of applications are already open, and the first round closes on 20th January, and the post which the second round will begin on the 25th of January, and the classes commence on April 1. We are taking applications as part of 3 cycles, but we encourage you to apply as soon as possible, as applicants who apply first will be given priority for the program. So we have, as you know, we have participants from multiple nations. One of the questions that I have received in the chat box can be guided to Professor Michal Ehrlich. So the question is about, is there any day-to-day regular support from the faculty in terms of doubt clearing sessions? Dr. Ehrlich, would you like to please answer this question? Perhaps you can talk about the tutor things here.
Yes, so each course, and thank you for this question because it's really relevant, as I said, is 1 hour recorded in a week, and then every 2 weeks, 2 hours of live session with the professors. But every week there will also, which are mandatory, okay? Both are mandatory. But every week there is 1 hour with a TA. And in that hour, it's not mandatory to show up, but if you have any questions, any doubt, you can come and you can ask questions, and I believe that they will be answered. But if not, of course, the live sessions are for reading and for discussion. So if there are any doubts left after that TA meeting, you can bring it to the live sessions, of course. And our emails is open. Any doubts, we are there. It's as any other degree, live or online. Thank you.
you, Dr. Alik. We have another question which can perhaps be guided to Professor Dr. Shriram Cholia. How this program can help current diplomats currently serving in India?
Yeah, so you're posted in India or you're coming to India and you're going to be here for 2 or 3 years. It's a big, vast country with a lot of complexity, and your sources cannot be limited, like I said, to just news media or journalists, or watching television, or following some pundits. You need to actually study, and there is no substitute to that. And while you have a day job, a demanding day job, you can do this online degree on the side. This is the beauty of the online program. You don't have to leave your current profession. You can continue doing this on the side. And of course, you will need to do a lot of reading, but nonetheless, it doesn't require you to physically come to our university campus in Sonipat, which is in the National Capital Region of Delhi. You can actually be posted in an embassy or a high commission or a consulate, or an international organization like the UN system, or an intergovernmental, other intergovernmental institutions which have to do with India. So, for diplomats, I think this is the best program, because you not only learn about the international relations, which Dr. Swasti Rao is going to teach, but you learn about domestic aspects of India, the past, the present, the future, everything. And it will really help you to be sharper at analysis. The memos that you write to headquarters will be much superior because you're doing this degree program. The kind of reports you gather on the ground from different states of India as you are posted here, when your VIPs are visiting, your ministers or prime minister or presidents or vice presidents are coming here, you can be the best guide to your VIPs, to show them the country, because you have done this degree program or you're doing this degree program. The protocol that you do, the events that you participate in order to represent your country here in India or in neighboring countries. I know many of the diplomats are concurrently also accredited to other neighboring countries while being posted in India. So I think this is the vantage point for Asia, for Indo-Pacific, for South Asia, for this whole region. So being here, I would think that the best use of your time for 12 months is enrolling this kind of degree program. We have had a lot of foreign diplomats enroll in our degree programs in the past, at the PhD level, at the master's level, and we expect many to enroll in the MA India studies. This is specifically designed for diplomats in particular, because they have a direct stake in promoting relations between their country and India. And you can do it only when you know your partner well. And you can only know your partner well, a big country like India, a big partner, through rigorous pursuit of a master's degree. You may already have a prior master's, so make this your second master's degree. In some cases, I know diplomats from many developing countries have come in only after getting a bachelor's degree in their home countries. So for you, segment of the diplomatic community, this is the best step forward. I know many people who've done our previous master's degrees, not this one, but other master's degrees, have gotten promotions within their ministries. So I think the possibilities are limitless, and we are happy to advise you individually also. If you have questions about your current circumstances and how doing the MA India studies will help you move forward, please email us, and please be in touch with Raghav, Vanshika, and Kanak, our core team. And of course, our faculty will be mentoring you once you have enrolled in the program and once the classes begin.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question. As far as this is an online course, degree certificate will be also online, or any convocation will happen?
Yeah, on that point, we have a prior online degrees where those students who have taken the effort or the interest to come in person to India from all over the world and have come to our campus, and there is a provision for them to participate in our main degree convocation along with the on-campus learners. Every August, on the 7th of August is the Founders Day of Jindal Global University. It's the birth anniversary of O.P. Jindal, in whose memory this high quality international world-class university has been created. So 7th of August every year there is a degree convocation, and so the ones who are enrolling in April, for example, April 2025, will be in a position to come in person and receive their degrees along with the on-campus students in Delhi in August of 2026, because you would finish in March, April of 2026 in 12 months, right? Of course, online students can also get degrees by courier and by post, and also electronically, and all those things are there. But if you want the India experience, club it with some tourism, and also to meet your professors in person, in flesh and bone, not just the computer screens, then grab your chance, please come, and we are happy to facilitate your visas and for you to come to India and receive the degree in person. So that provision is there. Sometimes online students ask, can we come and do one term or one semester here in India? That's a little more complex, because it's for a longer duration, and we can discuss that on a one-on-one basis once you've enrolled.
Thank you, sir. In fact, I, as an online student, also got my degree in person in Delhi last year. So I think with this, we can wrap up the session. To end, I would like to invite you all to enroll for the India Studies program. Studying India is an experience like no else. Any definition that you put India in, any framework that you define it by, pretty much the opposite is also true for India. So it will elude any definitions, it will break any assumptions that you have. And as a friend recently told me, who was visiting India, that India is a great spiritual teacher. All your assumptions about life will turn around once you study India. So as Professor Cholian started this webinar by saying India awaits you, I would like to end with the same. India awaits you, and the India Studies program awaits you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the program. Namaste.